Okay. Hey, everybody. Sorry to cut that audio off there in a little bit. I haven't figured out exactly how to get the. What I'd really like is for the music to kind of taper off when you move scenes, and I'm sure there's a way of doing that. I just haven't figured it out yet. So, apologies for the abruptness of the audio there. For those of you who've longtime listeners of the show, that's the podcast intro music, except I've slowed it down by about 70% so that it's like a 2 minute bit of audio. I've spread it out to about 3 minutes, I think, or something. So, it felt a little fast for the stream here, and I didn't want to, scare people. So, hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is the 11th of March. I appreciate everybody coming. Bing Cortana, hello. That's a new name I haven't seen. Elion underscore is a new one as well. Nerdy Dreams, hello. Todd Monkey, that's a new one. Okay. Let me see. We've got Elber Tweets. I can't control it. Cax IPS06. Thank you for joining again. Another TTV viewer as well. So I have somebody who asked me a question on the Black Girls Hack Slack, and I'm hoping that they're here. Maybe they can let me know if they're here, and we'll talk little bit about the question that was asked. Otherwise, so I've got some news up here for those of you who use Kali. If you're using the premium version of TryHackMe, they do have the options to do either a TackBox or a Kali Linux instance. But some people actually, put Kali Linux on their laptops and use it as their daily driver. I think it's gotten better. When Kali Linux first came from Backtrack, which was the old version, to Kali Linux, everything ran as root. You logged in as root, and being security people, and it's a pen testing, laptop. Some people raise the question of, should you be allowing laptops like these to be on the network without security controls like, I don't know, sudo being installed or working, or logging in as a user. If you're just running as root all the time, that's like being local admin on a Windows box. So I don't know if the security has gotten better in the last few years. I actually stopped using Kali Linux and went to a framework called Pentester Framework, which for those of you don't know, was made by Trusted Sex, Dave Kennedy, and others, which just allows you to run a command on the command line on any Linux distro. It'll go out to GitHub, download the stuff, and use it. Of course, that one. Hello, hey, Queenza and Osintness. Hello, appreciate everybody coming in. And so there's a number of them out there. There's Black Arch, I think, is one. Parrot. Of course, Kali is like the big one. But you can also just roll your own. I mean, you could install Debian or Ubuntu or something, Fedora, and CentOS if you, assuming, you don't hate what they've done to it. And run your own and roll your own. Because, if you install Kali, even the light version of it, there's still a grip of tools. Some of them you will never ever use. Some people go the full route, and it's like 100 gigabytes of desktop. And yeah, CentOS is one of those. Back when I used it and I worked for a defense contractor, it was avant-garde because it wasn't Red Hat, and the biggest issue that we had was getting people to accept the product with CentOS on it instead of Red Hat, because Red Hat was exorbitantly expensive, and transferring the licenses from ourselves to the third party was a bit cagey and a bit wonky. So using CentOS was interesting, and it's a whole different mess of problems there. I mean, it's not Ubuntu, it's not Debian, even Fedora is far enough removed. I'm old enough to remember when Fedora was brand new. So, and Red Hat Linux was not Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So one of the first Linuxes we installed when I was in the Navy in 2001, I think was Red Hat 8 on a Solaris box. That was kind of fun. So anyway, so sorry, to the bit at hand, Kali Linux has created a VM-like snapshot feature for bare metal installs. That's what I was talking about. If you install Kali Linux on your laptop, sometimes you will update Kali Linux and it'll bork itself. And that's one issue that I've always had issues with. It seemed like every 3 months I was either running 8 GB worth of updates because I had 1,000 different tools installed, or you would just start the machine up and it would just fail to run or something. So yeah, so what they've done now is they've got VM like snapshotting for bare metal installs, which is kind of cool because if you use, it would be nice if this was available to other Linuxes as well, because you might have a bare metal Linux box that you could snapshot. So they call it, what's this? The new feature called Kali is Unka Put Bar. I don't know Unka Put Bar is. I was trying to read through this before and I didn't quite understand what's the naming for on this. I don't understand. So somebody thought it rolls right off the tongue, says no one. Kali Farfignugan or whatever, I don't know. Anyway, they called it this. I'm assuming it looks like what you would hear like when I was in Germany. I drove past, or I was on a tour bus and we were going somewhere on an excursion, and we went past a John Deere dealer, basically like lawn tractors and stuff. And I think the name on the side said something like Landon Engine or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay. So I understand that, or Landon Tractor or something like that. I apologize if you are from Germany. It's been a minute since I've been there. So, but it was in the name, and you could separate the names out, and it was like, oh, okay, so it's a land engine or it's a land tractor or something like that. So what it meant here. I'm stymied as to what that is. So yeah, Unka Put Bar or whatever, some Uncle Put Bar. I don't know. Anyway, so they have a good name for it. Anyway, so it adds a new boot menu, which is kind of cool, for Kali Linux users to boot directly to snapshots to roll back previous system states. And on top of that, they will do automatic snapshotting with APT installations and removals, snapshots on every boot, automatically creating Kali Linux specific BTRFS. Maybe that's part of the file system, so you can do the snapshotting on that. A lot of Linux file systems do allow for on the fly snapshotting. New boot menu, of course, ability to browse file content of snapshots and copy files across and perform diffs between snapshots and restore individual files. This would be a great idea if you were, say, doing malware analysis, and you accidentally released it onto your box, and you ended up having to do that 4-second salute. You could go in, restore from backup or restore from snapshots. So that might be an interesting way of getting around that. My audio appears to be going up into the yellow, so if it's cracking or popping, please let me know. I've been trying to work on that, just in case somebody's hearing some popping and crackling. Let me know. I need to work on those audios. But so yeah, it's pretty cool. They said and here's a snapshot. I would hope you would be able to name the snapshots potentially, so you could say, before I screwed up my machine, or going to analyze malware or something like that. It might be nice to be able to name those. Let's see what it says down here. Let's assume the last snapshot broke your machine. Every run of apt install creates a snapshot, one pre-snapshot created before and one post after creation. Undo the last changes and recover from an unbootable system. You need to load the last pre-snapshot to check if everything's working okay, and then roll to that snapshot using this step-by-step procedure. So there's a little bit of something in there. The other issue I've got is Linux has gotten so unstable, or is it just specifically Kali Linux that you have to have this? Whether that's good or not, I don't know, but yeah, it's interesting that that is. Oh, good. Thank you, Queen's ZA. Thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, there must have been enough call for this snapshot feature that they thought they needed to implement it. Either it's a reliability issue or the complications of having a ton of kernel drivers needed to be able to support different wireless chipsets or different hardware, depending on what you're installing, may have required this. So, I think it's cool. One of the things that I was learning about when I was still heavily into Linux was trying to see about adding Red Hat Linux. I know Oracle Linux has it because Oracle needs a Linux. Has the ability to do things like patching kernels on the fly. So they have like a kernel patch or something like that where you can do hot fixes without necessarily having to reboot the box. Ideally, you should have in many organizations, you should be able to do failovers without having, loss of, not have a single point of failure. But, they did have the ability inside of some Linuxes to do hot fixes of the kernel without having to do a full reboot of the box. So that's definitely something you can do on some Linuxes. But it's nice to see this. If you're using Kali, maybe want to update to the latest version and let us know how that works. So yeah. Okay, so before we get started on our learning with TryHackMe, I actually found this last night on AWS Courses. Apparently they've got a ton of different courses here for various things. Man, they just shrinking that UI, ain't they? All right, so Cloud Practitioner Essentials, Data Analytics Fundamentals, Math for Machine Learning. Apparently these are all free. Now, that's at least when I log in. I have a Prime account, so I don't know if that's necessarily the truth. AWS Fundamentals, but the idea is you can upscale, and it says catered for busy professionals, dozens of courses that are under 60 minutes. And, if you're learning to upskill and you want to get into cloud technologies or understand, how AWS works or different services, there's a ton of stuff in here. Introduction to AWS IoT Analytics, AWS Certified Solutions. So I don't know if Google has something like this, but if they do, feel free to drop it in the Slack, the chat there. I will add this to the chat. There we go. So anybody is interested in checking that out, they can do so. Let me see. Yeah. Certified DevOps. There you go. And, if it's your dream to work for AWS or Amazon, having a bunch of this stuff on your resume may, make them believe that you have the passion there. And it's like, hey, you're all bought in with the AWS or Amazon solutions. So something to look at. So they do have different shopping by topics. So if you want to learn about all the DevOpsy things, you can click on that and it will show you certified DevOps engineer. So there you go. Or let's back that up. IoT related items, data analytics, security, identity, and compliance. So you can get your favorite security fundamentals, IoT. So there you go. But yeah, just a thought if you were looking for those. Yeah, no problem, Sidestep. No problem. Welcome, Sidestep as well. Thank you for coming today. So there's a ton of stuff. You learn understanding S3 blocks. So there you go. So you learn the best ways of handling S3 buckets and what to do there. And then they have the IAM stuff. So cool. All right. I'm going to close that. I'm going to close my feeds here. There's a bunch of interesting stuff that came out this week. I just like to keep updated on various things. So yesterday we did the subdomain enumeration, and today I thought we would go through the authentication bypass items. If you are looking to, let me start my attack box just so that we can keep going. Start machine. All right. So in this room, we will learn about different ways website authentication methods can be bypassed, defeated, or broken. These vulnerabilities can be some of the most critical, as it often leads to leaks in customers' personal data. I don't know if they'll go through all of the possible auth bypass mechanisms. There are definitely, depending on, it depends on all the way down to what CRM or CMS you're using. If you're using WordPress or, these are just some generic, I would imagine, generic methods by which you would do attacks or best practices that you should employ versus, and what we're going to see is what they don't employ are the bad practices, which may be what, and if this hits any of the stuff that you're using in your own office, if feel free to use these as examples of what not to do, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, just know that these 5 that they're talking about may not be the only ways of bypassing authentication. Sometimes it's just as easy as sending somebody an email and saying, click on this to log in, and you get, vulnerabilities that way or get issues that way. Okay, so we're still starting. All right, so whoop whoop there. This was so easy. Okay, so we didn't even have anything. In this room, we'll learn about these vulnerabilities. Yeah, start the machine, proceed to the next task. Okay. Oh, good. That was quick. All right. A helpful exercise to complete when trying to find authentication vulnerabilities is creating a list of valid usernames. See, we're back to creating a list or using a valid list of usernames. So there you go. We're back to using Fluff for word lists. So, there's our word list of FFFs, and we're going to, so let me see, we can use the existence of this error message to produce a list of valid usernames already signed up on the system. Yeah, a lot of times, depending on the website you go to, I would say I've seen it less in recent years, but when you started, going around and, people were putting up, websites with authentication and you had a username and a password, you could, enumerate that. And that's what we're going to do here. You put in the right username and the wrong password, it'll say bad password, or you put in, hopefully not, you put in the wrong username and the right password, which wouldn't happen, but you might see something like, this user doesn't exist. So it's doing a lookup against the table, the auth table, to say, does this user exist? No. Okay, send this message. Does this user exist? Yes. Send a different message. So you're getting some, enumeration, some 1-0, kind of binary thing. And typical usernames. There's only so many ways you can put a username in there. It's going to be, last name, first initial, last name. It's really easy for you to remember, say, break B, like mine, or, B break, for instance. But if, I know that, it may be hard for me to remember my username if it's, X978312, for instance. So, that's why they don't want, it's already hard enough to remember passwords. The last thing you need to do is remember what your username is. So one of the things that they try to do is, use specific usernames like this. So we're in FFF right now. Let me see. Let me go over here. Okay. All right. I'm going to have to do this the hard way, aren't I? All right. Let me see. So in the above examples, -W selects the location of the word list. -X argument specifies the request method, which is a post. So we're going to basically take the username in the file, and they're probably, single line, so each line, boom, send this, and then send ad infinitum. It is a post request in our example. The D specifies the data we're going to send. So when you see username fuzz example, passwords. So the URL is actually probably, Acme IT support.thm/ username equals fuzz, email equals, X or whatever. So what you're doing is you're setting the inputs that it's going to use, in this case, fuzz, to enumerate what users are on the network. So when you put something other than that, so all we're doing is running through the usernames right now. Later on, we could potentially run through the passwords and stuff. Oh, wait, I'm getting some filed. There we go. Sorry. Performance mode. I'm back up to 30 frames. Apologies for the slowness there. Yep. So I forgot to turn on performance mode. It makes a huge difference, like 4 to 5 frames per second. So, All right, let me see. H is used for additional headers. We talked about headers yesterday, where you could go in and modify the headers in a request, or look to see how to enumerate DNS domains, using content type or headers in there. The -u argument specifies the URL we're making the request to, so that'd be 10.10.88.97 / customers / signup. And then the MR argument is the text on the page we're looking for to validate we found a username. Okay, so this does take a little bit of doing, a little bit of setup. You actually have to, like we did before, you've got to walk through the application. You see a username and a password, log in, you're like, let me go do this. So you might test it with like bob@bob.com or something like that to say, really, this only works if you actually have a username now that you know exists. So you may do some OSINT research to find out that Bob Jenkins works at Acme IT Support, and he might have very foolishly used his work email to post to some forum somewhere asking about something. And hey, name's Bob Jenkins, work for Acme IT Support. I need some help on this. If you could email me at, bjenkins@acmeitsupport.com. So you'll know that mostly, I would say you're about 95% that everybody uses the same format for their email. So, if it's bjenkins@, then you know that, you can grab employee names from LinkedIn or what have you. Ann Johnson would be A Johnson, B Jenkins, Carl Reiner would be C Reiner, that kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, and there might be some exceptions at a startup or something like that. People are like, oh, I want to be able to call myself, Webmaster D at, Acme IT Support. So there might be some legacy accounts from, if it's a startup or a smaller company where they're like, oh, I want to have a cool nickname or something like that. That may be about the only time you would see something odd like that. But yeah. Once you start getting I don't want to say once you become a legitimate company, because startups are somewhat legitimate companies. But yeah, at some point you're going to have to implement some kind of standards to, not everybody's going to be able to be, the awesome person at, whatever. So, all right. So the Fluff tool and word list come pre-installed on AttackBox or can be installed locally, but downloading it at github.com/Fluff. Save the results from this command into a field called valid-usernames.txt, which we can use in a later task, then answer the questions below. Oh God, please let me copy this in. This is going to take me forever to type if I have to do it. Copy. Okay. Oh, you're killing me here. I'm dying inside. I'm just dying inside here. Okay, let me create a document real quick. Empty file. There we go. If I was using an OpenVPN, this might actually be a little different. Yeah, okay. I see. Oh, there we go. W user share. Not the USSR. They're not around anymore. Share word lists. Oh, you know what? Let me make it a little quicker on myself here. User share word lists, sec lists, usernames, names.txt -x post -d username equals fuzz ampersand email equals x ampersand password equals X ampersand C password. So C password is confirm password. So that at least that's my thinking on this, where it's like put your password in, confirm your password. Sorry about that. Equals X colon space dash H content type colon application X dash www slash or dash form dash URL encoded quote. Okay, I put the open quote on the other side. All right, dash U HTTP. Oops, HTTP only. Now the other side of this is if you're actually on the network with this HTTP, that means all of this traffic is going across unencrypted, which means if you're able to gain access to sniff the traffic on the network, like let's say you use some kind of ARP cache poisoning or something, and inject yourself into the network somehow where you're able to see the traffic going across the wire. Somebody logs in to this website. Let me continue typing while I'm typing here. 8897 customers. So yeah, you would be able to actually watch somebody log in and post their username and password credentials. What you may find, especially on internal systems, is that they don't think it's worth their time and effort to get a SSL certificate. So it might be a self-signed cert, or they may just decide, well, we don't need HTTPS inside. Oh, okay, starting to crack. Thanks for the heads up there. Okay, so let's see if that works. All right, so we've got, that's going. Okay. All right, so what is the username starting with SI? SI. So, okay, so we see Robert, Simon, Steve. Well, there's a ton of them here. Admin. Okay, so there were 4. Admin, Robert, Simon, and Steve. So in this case, what is the username starts with SI? So it's Simon. What is the username starting with ST? Oh, let me submit that one. Okay. What is the username starting with ST? Steve. And what is the one starting with RO? So there's Robert. Okay. All right, so what we want to do to make sure, because I have a feeling they're going to make us use these in the future. So we have Simon, Steve, oh, not Stever, admin, because that was one at the top, and Robert. So there we go. Now we have 4 usernames that it found just based on the usernames that it has for lists. Now, really, seems like they might be targeting specific country types. There are some countries where Simon, Steve, and Robert may not be the primary names at a company, so you would potentially have to change the wording on your word list accordingly, especially if it was, let's say you're doing a pen test in China, for instance. Simon, Steve, and Robert may not be who would be in there, and you may not even, so there'd be different word lists, that you would have to employ if you are not in the U.S. or in a country where Simon, Steve, or Robert would be a potential, pull in terms of usernames. So, any questions on that? Okay. All right, so the Fluff command is a little different to the previous one in task 2. Previously, we used this fuzz keyword to select where in the request the data from the word list would be inserted because we were using multiple word lists. We have to specify our own fuzz keyword. In this instance, we've chosen W1. So there's W1 in our list of valid usernames, and W2 for the list of passwords we will try. Okay, all right, cool. So we're going to use 2 different word lists, including the one that's called valid usernames, which would be this one right here. So I need to save this, save as, and this will be called valid usernames dot text. All right, and save. All right, I'm going to minimize this screen here. And all right, so we'll just hit up and we'll save what we can. Some of that's probably just going to go all away. Dash, okay, dash W, and then we'll use a little tilde to make sure that we can see valid. Oh, valid. Okay, I need to make sure that we're actually in the right place for this. ls. Nope. cd desktop. There you go. ls. There's valid usernames. Okay. All right, so every time I make a mistake in the window, I need you hear this little whoop, and I don't enjoy it. As a matter of fact, I'm the first person that usually deletes the bell on the terminal because it's annoying as all get out. So we can actually go like that. Valid usernames dot text. There we go. And then dot text, and then put colon W1, capital W1, comma, and then back that up. And then we go to sec lists. Okay, so I have an I9, and let's see, sec lists. So what we're going to do is passwords, sec lists, passwords, user share. Okay, well, we're going to see if that works because I can't tab on that for some reason. Common credentials. And then /10 million passwords. Password list top 100. Here we go. 10 million password list top 100. Okay. -X, we're going to post. -D. All right, so we need to change that. Username equals W1. W1. And password equals W2. W2. Get rid of that password, the C password field. There we go. And then H, content type, application, XML. You are, okay. I'm dying. I'm just dying inside. Yep. Oh, thank God. Okay. At least it's smarter than I am. All right. Let's see. URL encoded. 10108897. Okay. Customers login. All right. So we need to go to login. All right. Customers login. And then FC 200. Now, yesterday or a couple days ago, actually, we were talking about HTML codes or HTTP codes. 200 means success. So you were able to successfully get in. So what it's asking us to do in this case is, like it says here, we're using the FC argument to check for an HTTP code status other than 200. So that's what a positive match is. So what we're looking for is only successful logins because that's what we're trying to pull. So let me hope, cross your fingers. Nope, there was a lot of fail right there. That is a lot of fail. Okay. Ooh, goodness. Okay, what did I do wrong? Oh, gods. Okay, so scrolling. Okay, so it says keyword fuzz defined but not found in headers, method, URL, or post data. Okay, but there's no fuzz in this one. Fuff W. I'm wondering if I messed it up with the dot thing. Let me go back in and make it without that. Anyone else having any issues on this? Anybody working with me on this to get to where we need to be? I should not. Don't. Yeah. All right. So let's just. Okay. Good. All right. Excellent. All right. Fuff. If you got it to work, let me know, and if you can help me out with that. Otherwise, we're gonna have to pass this up. So let me see. So Fuff valid usernames.text. I did call this valid usernames.text, right? Valid underscore usernames.text. Okay, just wanted to double check. Okay, W1 colon, all right, /user /share /word lists /seclist /passwords /common credentials. Credentials is spelled CRED, all right. 10 million password list top 100 dot. There we go. Well, mine was, I think I forgot the extension on the password file here. So dot text. And I also forgot the W2, I think. Yes, I did. W2. Yep, I forgot the W2. So that's on me, and learning experience here. So top 100.text, W2, X post D, W1, W2, username, password. Okay, all lowercase, right? Okay. Customers, login, FC200. Ah, there we go. Okay, good. All right. So here's the password we got. So if you typed it in correctly, this is the output you should get. Steve and Thunder. So Steve / Thunder. Okay. You think that's impossible for Steve to have a password like that, but if you don't set some kind of minimum password requirements, you'll get that kind of thing. So, and whoop whoop. All right, cool. So I'm going to take a little drinky drink here. I would like to thank Stegaphone for following us today, and DF Zachary, who joined us apparently as well and followed almost a day earlier. And yeah, appreciate those two people for joining us. All right. Quinza, if you have any questions or anything, just let me know. We can stop and discuss if there's something you may have make sure your make sure. Oh no, wait. Let's scroll back over here. Make sure your syntax was correct. Like I had like 2 things wrong. I'm not sure about the / thing on valid usernames, but I definitely did forget the extension on the .text and the W2. So I really pooched to that. So if you have any questions, we can definitely walk through these items if you'd like. So okay, yeah. The problem is I've got the screen kind of half and half, and if you don't use like backslashes or anything like that, like you can use a backslash if you want to make it prettier. Some people like to put backslashes after each switch. That way it makes it easier and more readable and understandable. So, you might go like this, and then it'll put it on a new line. So the backslash would make it a new line in this case. But yeah, if you have any issues, we can sit down and talk about it. Okay. All right, so logic flaws. All right, so logic flaws are fun. Logic flaws are one of those vulnerabilities that may not show up in a scan. If you're doing using a web application scanner like, the one I used a few years ago was called NetSparker, and it was specifically made for like web app scanning. So you could use it, you could plug your URL in, and it'll run through various things. Nessus and Nexpose, which are Rapid7, I'm sorry, which is Tenables and Rapid7 specifically. It's Nessus and Nexpose. They have a web application scanner. It does take a little bit of work to get it where it will actually scan things properly. A lot of the vulnerabilities you'll see, especially if you get a bad pen test report, it will do things like TLS handshakes and things like that. But it's not what those two are not what I would have considered when I was thinking about scanning for web application items. NetSparker was one that we got because it specifically was trying to find ways to scan applications, and it did and this was, to be fair, that was almost 5, 6, 7 years ago. So a lot has changed in that time. So there may be a few more players in the field there. But if you're on a pen test or something, there are some scanners that you can get using like things like SQL Map will also do things like testing for injection errors or anything like that. So anyway, logic flaws are one of the things that some scanners do, but don't do well, at least in my experience, because the scanner only assumes that you know exactly what you're doing when you're building your application. A lot of times you'll get like it's a typical logical path. So it's expecting you to do 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't really have the wherewithal to go, okay, I want to try to skip to step 3, because it doesn't know the logic flow of your application. It's just following links, and it's like, well, I found a login site, I'm going to go ahead and do this or whatever. It may not have it may not understand exactly. So a lot of what hackers do will try to bypass those steps in the workflows or the auth flows that are happening, which is not often easy to automate in some cases, unless you've actually walked through it already and tried to figure it out. So it does take a lot of human intervention sometimes. Okay, so the below mock code example checks to see whether the start of the path the client is visiting begins with a /admin, and if so, further checks are made to see whether the client is in fact an admin. If the page doesn't begin with /admin, the page is shown to the client. So there's an if statement. This is a loop or an if statement. If the URL equals substring is equivalent to /admin, then the reference check to code to make sure the user is admin, else view the page. So because the above PHP code uses 3 equals, it's looking for an exact match on the string, including the same letter casing. So capital A admin versus lower a admin are 2 different people. This code represents logic flaw because an unauthenticated user requesting that will not have privileges checked, and the page will be displayed to them, totally bypassing authentication checks. You see what he did there? There's a capital M in the middle. In any of it would have worked for, if it's looking for /admin, anything changed on that looks very admin-like or whatever will automatically show the page. Logic flaw practical. So we're going to examine the reset password function in Acme IT support website. Password reset flows. There's just, oh man, I have stories. Including things like using security questions like what's my favorite color. It's just not good. I think my favorite one was, how many tattoos do I have? I think that was one of the security questions I saw. It's a great concept. People can make their own security questions, except when you see how many tattoos do I have, or my password is actually X, or something like this, and it's like, when you give people too much freedom sometimes, So for demonstration purposes, we'll use the email address robert@acmeitsupport.thm, which is accepted. Then we're presented with the next stage of the form, which asks for the username associated with this login email address. If we enter Robert as the username and press the check username button, you'll be presented with a confirmation message that a password reset will be sent to robert@acmeitsupport.thm. At this stage, you may be wondering what the vulnerability could be in this application, as you have to know both the email and username, and then the password link is sent to the email address of the owner. This walkthrough will require both of the following curl requests on the attack box, which can be opened by using the blue button above. Okay. Let's see, where's the blue button above? Okay. Okay, well, let me go open another browser window here. Curl HTTP 10.88.97 customers reset. Okay, and there shouldn't be a space there for email. Equal Robert. %40 is the at symbol for in encoding. Acme IT support.thm single quote, or single tick if you want to call it that way, -H single tick content type colon application x www xwww form URL encoded single tick -D username equals Robert. Oh, not robbery, Robert. There we go. All right, so they say we use the H flag for an additional header to the request. So we're going to add the content, which lets the server know we're sending the form data so we'll properly understand the request. In the application, the user is retrieved using the query string, but later on in the application logic, the password reset email is sent using the data found in the PHP variable $_request. PHP $_request variable is an array. An array is a list of items inside a space that contains data received from the query string and post data. If the same key name is used for both the query string and the post data, the application logic for this variable favors post data fields rather than the query string. So if we add another parameter to the post form, we can control where the password reset gets delivered. Okay, which is cool. So the array has specific guidelines there. So you see where, okay, so where we want it to actually send email to. So we add so there was an email, remember in the earlier one, there was username, email, password, and cpassword. Well, in this case, you can actually make it go to wherever you want for the email. Even though you suggest an email, it's going to give you something else. So you see what happens there. Okay. Okay, well, at least I can, save that and come back to it. All right, so for the next step, you'll need to create an account on the IT support customer section. Doing so gives you a unique email address that can be used to create support tickets. The email address is in the form of username at customer.acmeitsupport.thm. Now rerunning curl request 2, but with your Acme IT Support THM in the email field, you'll have a ticket created on your account which contains a link to log you in as Robert. Using Robert's account, you can view their support tickets and reveal a flag. So, all right, so we're going to curl request 2, but using your Acme THM account. What is the flag from Robert's support ticket? Okay. This one's actually like complicated. So, all right. So now I need to go to their website. So, okay. Let me pull up their website. This is going to be fun, switching back and forth between, websites and stuff. All right. At some point, I'm going to have to bite the bullet and just use OpenVPN or something like that. So, and at that point, I'll probably have to switch over to like a 2PC option there so that, we can do all these things. All right. Customers, reset. All right. Okay, so here's the reset password function. We see a form asking for the email address associated with the account on which we wish to perform the password reset. If the invalid is, you'll see is an option. For demonstrations, we'll use Robert at Acme IT Support .thm. Not them, THM. All right. Which is accepted. We're then presented with the next stage of the form. Okay, which asks for the username. If we enter Robert as the username. Okay. And press the check username button. Oh, that's Bloodhound. All right, it says we'll send you an email. Yeah, to that. Okay, great. All right. Walk through require running both of the curl requests on the attack box, which can be opened by using the blue button above. There's no blue button above, unless they're talking about this, but that's a link. So, okay. Request 1 and then request 2. So, let me see. I can shrink this down. Okay, so I'm going to shrink this as well. Okay, what is going on? Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, so there's the other one. Let's put the second curl response in here. Okay. Let's see, we need curl reset, email Robert. Okay. All right, I can at least pull some of this down here. Oh, you are a bastard, aren't you? Okay, so, oh man. Okay. Okay, so we have curl customer reset, email Robert, Acme THM, -H content type URL encoded, -D username Robert, and email equal attacker at hacker.com. Okay, so I'm going to need to, all right. All right, so curl request 1, I ran that, but the only thing that came up was, let me see, scroll up to the top here. Doc language, pro font, awesome. Bar, okay, collapse, nav collapse, success centered. We'll send you an email to robertsacme.com. Okay. And so if I run this one down here, it says, okay, so at least it tells you on the HTML that it's generated, that we will send it to attacker at hacker.com. Okay. So you can actually see where it said that versus where it set it up here when we did it the nice way. So, all right. Let's see here. For the next step, you'll need to create an account on the support customer section. Doing so gives you a unique email address that can be used to create support tickets. So running. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. So yeah, what we're going to do is send the, okay. 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 Yeah, let me make sure that I've got an email. One of these days I'm going to figure out how to get everything back up instead of having multiple, URLs and stuff. HTTP. I will tell you, using one screen and not having the ability to use this on multiple screens is teaching me an exercise in patience. Because I mean, this is a 4K output that I have on the laptop screen, but I mean, it's like, oy, having to have multiple boxes and everything running is, it's. Okay, so I need to create an account on the website. Okay, so I need to run I need to run yet another command then. That's what I'm understanding. Okay, so rerunning curl request to, but with your IT support. Thanks, Shecky. Appreciate you, man. Sidestep. You have no idea. You have no idea. It is an exercise in patience. Using one whole screen. I've seen people with, hacker screens like 8, 9, 10 screens. I'm like, I don't even have enough to put on 9, 10 screens. I mean, I'm good with just, one screen above, one screen below. But yeah, it's having to type in a VM in a web browser in half a screen with delay. So yeah, I do appreciate everybody here. All right. So, okay. So I don't need to do anything on the website. So that's my bad. I will close that. All right. Okay, so what I need to do is go back down here to this URL one, yeah, and then go reset email Robert at acmeitsupport.thm, H content type application XW form URL encoded -D username. Okay, so the username Robert at email. Okay, so I need to change this to email equals. All right. Which room are you doing? So we're doing the auth bypass one, Shecky. So yeah, well, Shecky, the VMs are the VMs. So Shecky's one of our longtime followers. He's been on our BreakSec Slack forever. And I've had the pleasure of enjoying an adult beverage or two with him in real life. So it's good to see you, Shecky. All right, so username Robert and email is username. So what are we going to call the username? Oh wait, I think. I just create username. I think I just type it as is. It's a variable, right? So at customer dot acme it support dot thm. All right. Well, here goes nothing. Okay, so says I'll need to create. Okay, so I do need to go in and so I did screw that pooch. So I did pooch that. So I do have to go into the customer login and go back to login and create an account. Username hacker dude. You know what? Let's not complicate things. Dude. Email address. I don't know, hacker dude at bob.com. I don't know if I should put the customer.acmeitsupport.com in there or not. Maybe I should. Customer .acme IT support .thm. Password. Well, thank you, Firefox, but I don't really need a securely generated password right now because I will never remember that one, and it will automatically shut down afterwards. So let's call it summer 2022. Summer 2022. There we go. We're all waiting for summer 2022, aren't we? All right, so sign up. Okay, yeah, don't save. Oh, okay, so there's the dashboard with tickets. All right, so I have no open tickets right now. So what I want to do is get that. There we go. Scroll up. All right, so I need to call it Hacker Dude. All right, Hacker Dude. Okay, so according to that should work. Okay, so now I pull this back up. I should be able to refresh the screen. I have one support ticket. Oh my god, I did! Oh my god! Oh my god! I did it! Oh, that's awesome! Look at me. I'm a real hacker, yo. Don't yell. Don't laugh at me, folks. All right, so let me see. We've received a request to reset your pass. What the? Okay. All right. Quit playing with me here. All right. So, what is the flag from Robert's support ticket? Well, it's not THM. Let's see. Well, that's weird. Okay, so I do see the support ticket, and I clicked on the support ticket with a password reset. Thanks, Shecky. The problem is it should be in some kind of format like a THM format or something like that, but I'm not getting that. Unless this is it, and I just have to put THM and then I'm out of hints, so I can't exactly go and do that. So, all right. Well, let me grab the URL that it's asking me to go to. Control C and Control V. Okay. Oh, there you go. Okay, so what did we learn there? All right, so it created the ticket inside of HackerDude's ticket system and said, hey, please go to this URL, which I did. Copy pasted the URL into a new screen, and that bypassed Robert's login for all intents and purposes, and allowed me to access his ticket queue to say, hey, don't tell anyone this. And he had a ticket in his queue that says THM auth bypass complete. So THM auth. Oops. Let's make sure let's set our proper cases, people. Bypass complete. Curly brackets. Whoop whoop. All right, excellent. So Queenza, what I ended up having to do was what got me the first time. You actually have to create an account in the IT system. If you've done that already, you have to go back in, and so your username, whatever you create, if it's Hacker Queen in this case, or whatever it is you want to make it, you have to run this command with your username that you created. Right. TryHackMe flag should. Oh, okay. That's good to know, Shecky. I was unaware. But so you have to go in and create the account first. So like if you made one called Hacker Queen in this case, let me scroll back. Doink, doink, doink. wow, we're just going all the way back, ain't we? All right, so there you go. So when you go to customer sign up, already have an account, log in here. You'll create a username called HackerDude, and then the email address will be what they suggested here, which was customer, hackerqueen at customer.acmeitsupport.thm. Password, of course, I set it for summer 2022, but you can make it whatever you want, just as long as you can remember it, or maybe not remember it. I don't know if we'll need this after this, but and then it'll let you log in and you'll go to your ticket system, and there'll be no tickets in your queue at that time. So when you log in with your brand new account, or when it allows you in with no, there'll be 0 tickets. You run the curl request number 2, but substituting the username for whatever you called it. So Hacker Queen, Queen of all hacks, something like that. Whatever it is you want to make it. And it will mail you Robert's password reset, because the parameter for email will be changed to your email. So Robert's username, but your email, because of the PHP issues that it had mentioned earlier about the PHP request variable. It's not smart enough to realize that, hey, Robert's password or username and email is this, but Robert's, it's not comparing that and making sure that it's legit. So you'll get emailed his password reset email link, and then once you put that in a new browser tab, you'll go to his dashboard, and you will be able to view his support ticket, which has the flag in it. Does that make sense? Okay. Were you able to get the flag? Okay, cool. All right. Excellent. If anybody has any other questions or they're going through this as well and having issues, please let me know. Boy, I was definitely overestimating how far we'll get through in this stuff. I was like, oh well, it's only 5 tasks in this one. It won't take so long. Yesterday I was like, oh, we'll get through both of these, no problem. No, we won't. All right, so this is a longer one here. All right, cookie tampering. Oh. 405 error. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if you'll need to get back there, but you were able to get into his account and get the flag. Not 405 error is, I forget which one that is. HTTP code 405. Method not allowed. So the method. Oh, okay. So the method. I think when they were talking about the post area, might be causing you some issues there. If you want to chat about it, we can talk about it afterwards, or we can get on our Discord, which hopefully I'll be able to talk about in a minute or two and go through that. All right. Cookie tampering. Examining and editing cookies set by web servers during your online session can have multiple outcomes, such as unauthenticated access to another user's account, or elevated privileges. Yeah, no worries, Queens. We can make that happen. If you need a refresher on cookies, check out the HTTP in detail room on task 6. Okay, so that goes potentially to a tab for HTTP related lessons. Okay, yeah. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Oh, okay. Close that. So yeah, there's some web basics or something like that in there that will teach you more about HTTP. Plain text. Contents of some cookies can be in plain text, and it's obvious what they do. For example, if these were the cookies set after successful login, so what it is your login equals true, the age of the cookie, and then the path of the cookie where it will be used, right? which appears to control whether the user is logged in or not, and another, an admin, so this is a cookie, but you're not an admin, which controls whether the visitor has admin privileges. Using this logic, if we were to change the contents of the cookies and make a request, we'll be able to change our privileges. First, we'll start by just requesting the target page. All right, so let's minimize that. And we're going to go curl, curl, http://10.10.88.97/cookie test. All right, so we're not logged in. So you see where it says we're not logged in. So there you go. All right, so we'll send another request with the logged in cookie set to true and the admin cookie set to false. So we up. All right. So what we want to do is we want to do the -H, and if remember, -H is the header, so it sets a header field. What is going on here? Oof, okay. There we go. Let's try this again. Oh, good. Okay, excellent. Glad you were able to figure that out. We can. Boy, it's really annoying. I think Queenza knows what I'm talking about with the boing boing. Sounds like a drip of water. Okay, HTTP 10.10.87 or 88.97 slash. Oh, yeah. Okay, /cookie test. Yeah, I got to put all the bits before it as well. So we'll go back here. -H. And then, yeah, cookie, logged in, _in equals true, semicolon space admin equals false. Close quotes, space, and then run that. So now we're logged in as a user. Ding! All right, so that's good. I'm sure if you wanted to make that prettier so the logged in as a user is on its own line, you can do so, but I'm going to go ahead and clear this out because it looked like we were having redrawing issues with the terminal and it wasn't functioning correctly. So you can use either CLS, or no, not CLS, clear. There used to be another command instead of that, but you just want to clear the screen and start over fresh with a new version. You might also sometimes, depending on the shell, might have to do that a couple times to clear the buffers. Okay, so all right, so we've logged in as an admin, true, false. Okay, so now we'll send one last request with both logged in and admin cookies set to true. Now let's just get that back up in there. All right, so we're logged in as a user according to the cookie. So I'm going to go ahead and add this, and we're logged in equals true and admin equals true. TRUE. And now we're logged in as an admin. Oh, hello. That one was easy enough. All right. So cookie tampering is the flag for that one. So it's right there. All right. So sometimes cookie values can look like a long string of random characters. These are called hashes, which are an irreversible representation of the original text. Usually, the longer the hash, the better. As a matter of fact, the first podcast I think we ever did of the BreakSec podcast was on hashing. Actually, we called it Kick Some Hash because at the time we were doing the podcast on an audio basis, and we were doing it based on things we learned at work or were trying to teach people at work not to do. And so one of the things that came up was at the time, and I'm pretty sure they don't do this anymore because we implemented something better. They had MD5 hashes, and at the time MD5 was deprecated at best because it's super easy to crack those hashes, and to you can run rainbow tables like that. I mean, it's like super easy to get those, which is why it got deprecated along with SHA-1, which is only slightly larger or slightly larger size on the hash. But even SHA-1 is deprecated now, and they suggest you use ones like SHA-256 or 512. There's even other hashing functions like SHA-3 is out there, but you want a hash that's long enough that can't be easily cracked. Like SHA-256, I think, is still okay as of 11 March 2022. SHA-512, you can go that nth degree and be kind of future-proof, depending on where quantum computing is going to be in the next 5 to 10 years, and use SHA-512. But yeah, using an MD5 hash, a lot of times when you hear of password breaches, sometimes you find out that either the company's storing them in plain text, which is definitely an oh-no, only itty bitty slightly better is MD5, because it does take all of about 3 seconds to run through the entire rainbow table of values for MD5. The best way of doing them when you're storing passwords is to salt the values of the passwords, which is adding some random bits to the end of the password, either before or after, and then hashing that. And then storing the salts somewhere else in another database somewhere that is, somewhat protected. That way you don't have the password value and the salt and then the hash together. If and even then, to go even further than that, there's something called peppering, which is encrypting either the password or some part of the hash, or adding encryption somewhere, so that you're actually mixing it up a little bit and making it that much more difficult. So salting and peppering, don't ask me why. So people like to be clever sometimes, I guess. So all right, so what is the flag from changing the plain text cookie value? So it is THM. Let's test the theory of cookie tampering. There we go. Yes, answer is correct. All right, so it is case insensitive. Thank you, Shecky. Appreciate you, sir. What is the value of the MD5 hash 3B21A78001978, whatever. All right, so let's scroll back up here. So yeah, you can go to crackstation.net to figure that out. Sometimes if you are really in a bind and you know that it is an MD5 hash, there are, I believe you can actually Google for this as well. Some of these, MD5 especially, you can actually Google for the hash. So let me see if it finds it. Well, that's not correct. Well, okay, somebody's already run through this. So if you got stuck and can't use CrackStation, somebody's already added the TryHackMe and added that bit there. So, but all right, let's go to CrackStation and just take a look. CrackStation, yeah. All right, so a non-salted hash. So you know that value was non-salted. Oh, I'm not a robot. Wait a minute. Okay. It's funny. I actually did the I'm not a robot thing one time and actually screwed it up enough where I was locked out of a website for a while. I kept, answering it wrong. Yeah, I don't recommend that. All right, so the result is 463729 because it's already got the hash here. This one has probably been looked through enough by people doing TryHackMe that it's like set at the top, which is why it took less than a second to do. But you can change it up any place you want. You could add like BBB here, and then I'm not a robot, and then crack that hash. Partial match. So yeah, I mean, ideally what it'll do is it will run through what's called the rainbow table. So it'll take 0, 0, 0, 0 all the way through to however long it takes for an MD5 checksum to FFFFFFFF all the way through to a full size of a checksum, and we'll run those. That's the rainbow tables we were talking about a couple weeks ago. All right, so the password is 463729. Okay. What is the base 64 decoded value of this? Oh, okay. Well, let's go look that up too. CrackStation probably does this. Otherwise, there's numerous websites that will decode. Let me see. Did they pick a different directory here? CrackStation, billions of hashes. Okay. You can decode base 64. Yeah, so you can decode base 64 here. Easy enough, base64decode.org. So you can type that in there, decode, and you get oh, there you go. There's the name of the hash right there. And so you can, again, that may not have been how they wanted us to solve it, but you can definitely go and grab this website. There you go. Okay. And, oh, we had one more. Encode the following value based using base 64. So I'm going to grab just the part inside the curly braces. Oh, wait, I got to submit first. There we go. Okay, of course that one's correct. I don't know if I should use the curly braces or not. Well, we'll do it one time and then we'll do it out. Let's look at the hint because it... Oh, okay, they're going to the exact same side I was going to. Okay. Okay, so I will go and copy this. Did they do that and I was just an idiot or something? Oh, okay, so they want you to do the curly brackets too. My bad. Okay. Come on, man. There we go. There we go. Control C. Base 64 decode. And you're going to change it to encode, I believe. Oh, wait. Where's the encode part? Decode files. Oh, encode. There. I got to go click up here on top to encode. So there's the decode version when you come in, then the encode version. There you go. You're going to put that in there. I'm assuming they want just default values, encode. And then you're going to get this value here. And then you're going to copy paste this in and hit submit. Yes. All right. You know what? We're close enough to the top of the hour, and I underestimated how much time it would actually take me to do one of these examples. I do apologize. Everybody expecting to do indirect object reference. Thanks, Sidestep. Appreciate it. I actually learned something today, which, you know, I hope everybody has too. Another room down. That's right, Queens. A good job. Excellent job there. Thank you for following along with me. I do appreciate that. So for everybody, we have about 9 minutes left. Somebody had asked me a question. I hope that person is here. Had asked me, let me double check and make sure I get this right. Twink, twink. Black Girl Hack. Yes, okay. I'm curious. So you started in IT and moved into cybersecurity or what? Can I ask questions about your journey? Yeah, sure. I did. So when I lived in Missouri when I was a kid, grew up in South Central Missouri, very unwealthy part of Missouri. The whole state is pretty much not where you would consider yourself wealthy. Both of my parents worked. They were very blue collar. My mother, because I was an ungrateful ass, but my mother got me a computer, and at the time, what was that night? We were living there at the time. So it was like 94, 95, and she went to the computer store and gotten me a computer. And at the time, the Pentiums were the new processor that was coming out. And she had gotten me pretty much like an 8086 processor or something. It was an IBM clone, monochrome monitor, and it ran MS-DOS 4.0, for those of you unaware. Microsoft did have an operating system before Windows called DOS, Disk Operating System. Came with two 5.5 floppies, so the floppy disk drives were the floppy disks were about this. Didn't have a hard drive, and ran like DOS 4.0.1. So, there wasn't much to do on a monochrome monitor. Monochrome being, yellow and black were the only colors you had. And, if you wanted to mix it up, you could have black on yellow instead of yellow on black key, stuff. So, a lot of OS fit on a, what was it, 360K, 360K? Yeah. And it had 2 drives on it. So the A and the B drive at the time was like the big deal. I remember my grandfather, he had a Commodore 64, which, was arguably better than what I had because you could hook it up to a TV and it would do color, and we played little games like Apple Hunt. Of course, I was like, 9, 10, 11 at the time. He was a pilot, so he would like use his Commodore 64 with a modem to download things like weather reports from the FAA and type it up on his, it would print out on his dot matrix printer. My grandfather, having what little access I did to his Commodore 64 really kind of galvanized what I did for IT. Anyway, taught myself batch programming, and there was another program called GW Basic, which, for those of you who don't know, was another GW Basic. GW Basic was a programming language, and my grandfather had different games that he would send me, like text-based games, like Orb of Zot, which was like the Amulet of Yendor or whatever. It had different text-based games. It had, used all the different character tables to create text-based games. So I had like Star Trek. So, you could fly the Enterprise around on this 8x8 square, hunting down Klingons and whooping them. And of course, like most hackers or crackers or whatever the heck you want to call it, us, curious folk, I started playing around with the computer programs and learning how they worked. And Basic was excellent because it was like 10, and that was an instruction. And then you could do 20, 30, 40, 50, and each one would give you a different output. So like, here's what it looked like pretty much. Oh, wow, that bring back memories. But yeah, so you could run and load programs, and you could do while loops and everything. So I started looking through some of the source code of these text-based games and figuring out bugs and stuff on them. And, make a long story short, I taught myself things like batch programming. I was able to hack the games, like the Star Trek game that I had on this. You could actually move yourself. One dot was like 0.1. So I wanted to go, this direction at 0.1, which would move you 1 dot in the system. The only thing is, though, it would also increment the calendar. So it would take you X number of seconds or minutes to go this direction, and you had only so many minutes to go through the entire sector of the quadrant, whatever. I found out if you moved it 0.09, you could move and not change the time increment. So there was a bug there where somebody goes 0.09 and you could do that. So I was, 0.09ing and moving, without changing the time on that. And it would only change when I would move to a different sector or something like that. So, started doing a lot of that. And then I went off to the Navy and, went through A school for weather observers. Found out weather is actually boring as hell in the Navy. They took something that was kind of fun and turned it into something that was extremely boring and like dry. Sadly, I still love weather. It's just the way they taught it was just not conducive for me to want to learn. But I had talked with one of my instructors about, knowing computers and learning batch programming and things I would do with GW Basic and what have you. And they thought, well, he might be good for computers. So instead of going to a ship like the majority of the class when I graduated from weather observer school, I went to a place in Monterey called Fleet Numerical. I do believe it's still there. And they do numerical weather modeling for the Navy. And there are, my first duty station was standing watch and watching Cray supercomputers finish their runs using something called Hummingbird Exceed, which what I didn't realize at the time was pretty much an RDP client for Windows that, would log in to the Cray supercomputer and show the stuff that's happening on the screen of the computer, much like RDP. And of course, my entire career in the Navy was IT. And, when I went to Diego Garcia after Monterey, I was the IT guy there, and then came back to San Diego and did IT. I worked in N6 there at North Island. And I was doing network IT and security and patching and vulnerability management before it was called vulnerability management. And so I mean, that's just one way to get into InfoSec. It wasn't until after we had left San Diego, and I was working for a defense contractor at the time on an NMCI project, and I moved to Austin, and that's pretty much where I started my security career in 2009. Defense contractor needed somebody who was familiar with what was called IAVA, which is Information Assurance Vulnerability Alerts or something like that. And I had a bachelor's degree, which was a huge deal for them. So they're like, "Oh, we need you. You understand, defense contracting, and you've been in the Navy and all that." And I was like, "Oh, great. Okay, great." And for 3 years, I worked there. But that was, and one of the requirements for government work was to get your 8520 or 8510, I think, .1 or whatever, which was you had to get either like DoD Information Assurance Management or CISP. And I got my CISP. And from then on, it was like I was in compliance, I was doing security and whatever. And that's where my career went to. Yeah. So, I mean, Queens, I hope that answers your question in a roundabout way. Was there anything else you would like to discuss? I mean, I've been in IT for about 20 years, but in security for about 15. So, but it's a slog, and it's just one way of getting here. I mean, we interviewed Shannon and Stacy last week on the podcast, which that audio podcast will be out this week, but we actually have a stream of it here on our channel. She can, I think Shannon said she came from accounting, and Tracy, I can't remember what her background was, but she's doing auditing and compliance and those things now too. So I mean, there's no place that you can't come from, and a lot of jobs have skills that translate into security quite easily. So there's really no place that you can't come from. It just you just need to find organizations that recognize your value and be able to translate your skills into that. Being analytical is very helpful. Understanding data analysis, if you will, or working with high stress situations like my mentee. He wants to get in information security or doing incident response. I was like, "What do you do?" And he's like, "Well, I'm an EMT, firefighter." I was like, "Okay, you might have dealt with a few stressful situations, which, when you're doing incident response, you have to understand how to cope with that stress." So understanding high stress situations where, you might have to do things or make choices is important. But yeah, I mean, there's a number of places it come from. That's my cat. She'll be on at some point in the future, probably, but yeah. No, cool. Yeah, but it's I think the big thing we have right now with information security and especially with businesses is we're writing job descriptions based on unicorns or things that we would love to see, and oh yeah, we want 10 other things that they know how to do. And I think a lot of the job descriptions that people are using is the equivalent of the Stack Overflow problem we have with developers. They'll just go to a site, say, "I'm looking for what would make a good SOC analyst." And yeah, what makes a good SOC analyst in one industry may make a poor SOC analyst in another one or something. They're not all the same. Or your requirements or needs for a specific group or person or position may not be the same as oil and petrochemical versus finance or what have you. So I think it would behoove us, if you work at a company with job descriptions, to take a look at the job descriptions and go, does this make sense? Is this what I'm doing on a regular basis? If you have to tell people, "Oh yeah, don't worry about that. I never do that stuff. Yeah, don't worry about that. Go ahead and apply. I don't do 80% of the stuff on that." Is it really a job description if you don't do 80% of the stuff that's supposed to be your job? So that's one thing I've been trying to impress upon people, even in my own ranks, about making sure the jobs are realistic. Some of the language. Get rid of pronouns. Don't put pronouns in there, especially if it's like he's or she's or what have you. Let me stop for a second. As you can tell, I'm quite passionate about the job description thing. There are very few jobs out there in security, especially in a junior role, where you would need to have, X number of years. Don't advertise for a junior role and then need a master's degree, or if it's a junior role where you're planning, if you advertise, yeah, we'll train you up, you cannot not train people. Or if you're expecting somebody who is new to security or 1 to 2 years of security, you can't be only hiring or looking for people, right, or CSP for a junior role. Exactly, 100%. Oh my goodness, Queensy, you were correct. A CSP, by definition, requires 5 years of experience. Well, at least when I got it, in at least 3 of the 10. I know it's now 8, but you needed at least 5 years of experience. Plus, you needed to know another CSP who could vouch for your stuff when you signed you filled out your CV. So yeah, I mean, now to be fair, if you're doing IT and you've been doing IT for more than 5 years, I could almost safely say that you have done enough to get a CSP, because you've either done network access, you've done patching and vulnerability management, you've done network security, anybody who's, changed ACLs on a firewall, provisioned users, there's a lot of stuff that is considered security that IT does that doesn't get, classified as security. But, hygiene and, I actually didn't mind, because part of my watchstanding duties in Monterey was to actually be the security guard, to walk around testing doors, making sure safes were closed and logged and everything like that. So I actually had physical security as my as one of my 3 or 5 years worth of work. But yeah, 100%. Certifications that don't make sense, a master's degree for a junior role. There are some places where that actually does make sense, but in the vast scheme of things, if you're looking for if you have junior in the title, you need to treat that as a junior role where training is possible to move up in the organization, or what have you. So anybody have any other thoughts or questions? I know we're a little over. I do appreciate everybody sticking around with me. But yeah, job descriptions are something I'm very passionate about, considering, if you haven't changed your job descriptions in the last couple of years, it might be something you want to look around with, especially if you update your policies and procedures. You need to take a look and make sure that your job is still applicable to the job description. So anything else? Ooh, I'm smelling bacon right now. I think my wife is cooking up some Brussels sprouts and bacon. So I need to probably knock off here. So anyway, so tomorrow we will go and do the indirect object reference that I thought we would do today, because of, it being what it is. I did not actually look at the exercises when we were doing the authentication bypass stuff to understand how long they were. I only saw the labels and thought, oh, well, there's only 5. We'll blow through those. So, all right. So one of the other things before I go, and please bear with me, we do have our Discord up. I have been inviting a few people just to test workflows and logic. Yeah, that is how they get you. Yeah, exactly. We're testing role management, trying not to roll out a ton of channels, setting up the moderation functions. The bot that we're using has some kind of level system, so I've been trying to clean some things up. We will probably talk about it this weekend on Sunday night when we get Mr. Betcher and Miss Berlin back on with the podcast. But we want to try to build the community correctly. We want to do it as securely as possible. Code of conduct, and making sure that not everybody, world plus dog, can just come on up in there and start botting everything up. So be working on it this week and tonight and Sunday. But yeah, I think we're in beta right now. So we have a number of folks in there. I think a couple of people. I invited Shecky today. I believe I added Queenza as well. I do appreciate them for coming on and helping out with that. And yeah, so we will be unveiling that. Just found out the copy paste feature for the attack boxes. If you could whisper that to me, that would be great. Because yeah, having to fat finger that stuff, and I seriously did try Control-C, Control-Shift-V. It did not work transferring it between there. I tried multiple versions of that. I don't know what I was doing wrong. If you're using OpenVPN, it might be a little easier because you can actually just go into your web browser fully and do it. But yeah, if there's a better way, or if it has a button that I forgot to click, I would enjoy that. Oh, sorry, sidestep. Yeah, yeah. Okay. If it's not obvious, then I am definitely not doing it right. So cool. All right. Well, I hope everyone has had a great rest of their week. Anybody? Oh, before we go, anybody have any wins? Did other than finishing this room with me? Anybody have anything they want to brag about, or hey, I got a promotion or a new job, or seriously, my door is shut, so she's looking. I have glass in my door in my room, so she's just pitifully looking at me and going, "Meow, meow." Awesome sidestep. Yeah, I think we included you on the, one class left for my capstone. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, at that finish line, gonna have to, it'll be so much better when you're out of school, and you'll, be able to look at that degree, and that'll be awesome. So congratulations on Queensa, and keep after it and keep being awesome there. Sidestep, we do. I think I added you to our Slack channel, so use that career advice channel. If you're looking for somebody to do some resume review, you can definitely hook that up. People will do some resume review for you. So yeah, cool. Yeah. So I mean, I got the Discord set up. Very cool. Yeah. Got the Discord set up. That was difficult because there's a lot more moving parts on Discord than there is Slack, and so I just want to make sure we're getting it right. So cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna go. Hope everyone has a good day, and take care of yourselves, and keep on keeping on. So have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.